Initiating podcast download. Prepare yourself. Put on your spandex. Lace up your boots. Wrap your wrists. Hide your razor blade. Head to gorilla position. Grease up your hair. Apply baby oil. Okay, apply more baby oil. Get into gimmick. Keep your ears open and your mouth shut. Have fun and be safe out there, brother. Welcome to Iron on Wrestling. Now your host, Gregory Iron.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Iron on Wrestling with Gregory Iron. I am your host, Gregory Iron. This is episode 288, and I'm feeling kind of great, and I hope you are too. Good to see you. Hope you're happy to hear me, and we've got a nice, decent show for you today. We are going to be discussing our main topic will be Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage. Yes, we're going back to 1993 because WrestleMania is in Vegas. The WrestleMania documentary dropped last Friday, so this is topical. Did Hulk Hogan get punched in the face by Randy Savage? It's going to be our Hulk Hogan lie, and we will get to that very shortly because I think I have some answers. But also, I'm going to answer your questions from social media, and, you know, Patreon members get priority when it comes to that sort of thing. Patreon.com/irononwrestling, where starting at just $3, you get a buttload of bonus content. Yes, you can sign up for $1, which is just a nice way to support the show every month. Sometimes we will drop a $1 holla podcast like we did a couple weeks ago just to kind of whet your appetite a little bit. But $3 is the tier where you get bonus content going all the way back to 2019. You get the podcast early. They're usually a day early, sometimes 2 days early. They could be extended at times. There's a bunch of extended episodes in the archives. So even if you listen to free episodes back in the day, there are elongated versions, as some people on Patreon would call them. Bonus episodes, bonus video starting at $5, which means you'll get the special magazine videos that I've been making from a pages of a wrestling magazine, early, extended, behind the scenes stuff. Some Gregory Iron is Disarmed stuff, which I've been documenting my injury recovery journey. $9, you get involved in a live chat with me, which I will be doing sometime the week after WrestleMania here. So, you know, I just want to be able to talk about the show of shows with you guys. I'm pretty excited, not as excited as I've been in past years, but I think overall it'll be good. I mean, it's WrestleMania. It's hard to, 2 nights, like 14 or 15 matches, it's really hard to fuck it up that bad. I mean, and then when you look in the grand scheme of things, sometimes WrestleMania can have like 2 or 3 matches, and it's considered, that's a fine WrestleMania. So all things considered, I don't think it could be bad. But I'll talk about that in a second. Of course, if you go up in the tiers on Patreon, you can get stuff in the mail. That'd be $25 and up. You can even podcast in studio with me. Yes, even while I'm injured. Patreon.com/irononwrestling. If you haven't subscribed to YouTube, do so now. We're dropping videos over there all the time. Like it, share the videos, subscribe to the podcast wherever you download podcasts. Leave a comment on YouTube. Leave a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening. It creates visibility for the podcast. And now that's all that is out of the way. Just want to tell you, we will be talking about the Hulk Hogan lie shortly, but if you want to hear in depth about the WrestleMania 9 spectacle documentary, I did a whole review over on the Patreon, along with a WrestleMania preview. But, since it is the week of WrestleMania, again, I don't think the card looks that bad. I'm not crazy about the build. There's been ebbs and flows, right? We've been on a little bit of a roller coaster. I don't know if the go home on Monday was everything that I wanted it to be. It was fine. We still have, the Friday SmackDown to go home with Cena and with Cody. I'm optimistic. I don't have a problem. I have been more excited for other WrestleManias. However, I've stated this in the past, and I'm going to say it again. I felt going into WrestleMania 17, for the most part, with the exception of Rock and Austin, I was kind of underwhelmed with a lot of the stories going into WrestleMania 17. And that's one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time. Now, of course, that Monday before, you had Shane McMahon purchasing WCW, so you had that going on. Rock and Austin was good. Triple H and Undertaker was okay, but again, look back at it, it was just kind of hastily thrown together because they didn't have anything else for the guys. Vince forgot to book Undertaker and Triple H on the goddamn card, so they just put them together. So, it worked out fine that way. But, and the TLC was going to be great, right? And so with that being said, I was a little underwhelmed with the rest of the card, but all things considered, you got 3 or 4 good matches, really, really strong matches that I just named out of that WrestleMania card, and overall it's looked at as like the greatest pay-per-view of all time. But in retrospect, again, does anybody talk about Right to Censor versus APA and Taz from that show? Does anybody talk about Jericho versus Regal? It was fine, but does anybody talk about that? Does anybody talk about Test versus Eddie Guerrero? We're not talking about Test getting wrapped up in the ropes. There's a lot of matches that, weren't exactly classics on the WrestleMania 17 card, but the overall atmosphere, that's what helped make that card special, right? And of course, it didn't hurt that they had Rock and Austin at the top, which, again, to segue back to the YouTube real quick, if it's not up already, it should be up in the next day or so. Be on the lookout for an all-new From the Pages of a Pro Wrestling magazine, because I'm dropping one about the March 2001 WWF magazine, which features Rock and Austin on the cover. It's starting the build up to the road to WrestleMania 17. I think it's very entertaining. And also, if you comment on the YouTube video, you will have a chance to be randomly selected to win a rug from one of our new sponsors, Battle Rugs. That's right, Battle Rugs over on Instagram. They are making WWF, WWE, MMA, boxing, all different types of rugs. They even make your own custom rug if that's something you're interested in. So check them out, Battle Rugs over on Instagram, battlegroundrugs.com, if you want to see all the stuff they got over there. And like I said, hey, if you want to win one of your own without paying for it, all you got to do is comment on the YouTube comments. So there you go. All right, where do I want to go from here? The WrestleMania build-up, it is what it is. I'm hoping it'll get better on Friday. And overall, there's a lot of things that I think I could say that I'm looking forward to. I think Seth Rollins on Monday was kind of pushing it with, we're all trying to create justification for why this is the main event of the show, right? Which I have no problem with it being the main event, the 3-way, Roman, Seth, Punk. I think it's going to be incredible. However, Rollins saying that it's the most important triple threat match in the history of the company, I find to be a little bit of a stretch. They all have to have a reason for why this is happening, right? I don't know if Seth needs... I don't need a reason like that, because I don't feel like that there's going to be this seismic change based on whoever wins, like the future of WWE. Like putting such a big thing like the future of WWE in that match seems strange. On the contrary, I feel like in the other main event, Cena a couple weeks ago was threatening to walk out of the company with the WWE Championship. Sure, can you create another title? Absolutely. But I feel like that is more of a long-term effect to the organization if Cena was to leave with the title than, CM Punk, who walked out of the company in 2014 because he was upset about how things are going, how people were being treated. I don't know if that happens, that there's going to be an issue in the company going forward, right? Like if Punk walked out again, it wouldn't drastically change business, especially with the way they've been making money hand over fist over the years, recent years. I like the Paul Heyman situation. I feel like a lot of people are trying to call what's going to happen, but Triple H is a very smart booker. I don't know if anything that's being predicted in the usual spots is how it's going to play out. I don't see Paul Heyman aligning with Seth Rollins. I don't see Paul Heyman turning on Roman Reigns or CM Punk. I could be wrong. I don't know where it's going. I feel like it's the main event of WrestleMania Night 1. There's got to be some sort of swerve, something bigger than just Paul Heyman and who he's going to align with, right? Like, I think that's obviously going to play a factor. That's the big selling point. But I feel like there's something we're overlooking. And I don't know what that is. And I'm okay with that because I'm just going along for the ride. Also on night 1, of course, you have the War Raiders versus the New Day. It should be a good match. I'm glad to see my old buddy Ray Rowe on the card. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. I think that's got potential to seal the show. Jade Cargill versus Naomi. It'll be fine. I could do without it. It's good to see Jade back, but I'm not too terribly excited about this. LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. I think that's going to be great stuff. Tiffany versus Charlotte. Interested to see how that's going to play out. Seems like they're going to do business together based on what they did last week. Gunther versus Jey Uso. I'm excited for this. I love Jey. One of the most compelling promos that he's cut in a while happened last week, and it was a reminder that Jey Uso has the ability to really get us to emotionally invest. That's why we fell in love with him as the right-hand man in the bloodline, kind of the hothead. If you're a Ninja Turtle fan, sort of the Raphael of the bloodline. He was endearing to us because of his emotion, and I think because the Yeet thing got so over, we lost sight on how deep, how compelling Jey can actually be. I think being in there with Gunther, we're going to have a really classic match and a classic WrestleMania moment. And, there's a lot riding on this for Jey, not just the fact that he's, in the main event as main event Jey Uso or in a main event type match because he's not closing the show. But, last year at WrestleMania 40, despite the build and my excitement for that match, and I think I can speak for a lot of other people when I say this, Jey versus Jimmy was not good. Very, very disappointing. And he's got to redeem himself from WrestleMania 40, and I think he's going to have his true biggest WrestleMania moment. It's hard to get bigger than teaming with your brother in the main event like he did at WrestleMania 39, but yeah, man, this is going to be good shit for Jey Uso. Also, yeah, all the people talking shit about how Jey shouldn't be in the main event, he already did it. I think he's got no problem being main event Jey Uso, and also that was a great main event at WrestleMania 39 with him and Jimmy versus Kevin and Sammy. We talked about the triple threat. I think that's going to be fine. Night 2, listen, we got some great matches that night too. I'm a little butthurt that DIY is not going to be going for the tag titles, but I'm sure there's something in their future. All those guys, the Machine Guns, the Street Profits. There's a lot of people have been talking shit about the tag division, but I feel like all these guys on both shows have been being slept on, and there are so many guys and gals that I feel like it's just you don't want to overdo it with the TV time because they already have basically 6 hours between the main shows. That's still not enough time to give everybody the TV time they deserve, right? And Raw seems to go by pretty quickly in 2.5 hours. SmackDown, since it's went to 3, is kind of dragged. So I wouldn't want to shove anything down our throats, right? But sad that they're not going to be on the WrestleMania card. But, Liv and Raquel versus Bayley and Lyra, I think that'll be a great match. And I've been becoming a really big fan of Lyra. I can see why, not that I had anything against her before, but I could see why that they made her the Intercontinental Champion. She really is the workhorse gal. She is, don't everybody come at me when I say this, but she's like, the Bret Hart, the Mr. Perfect of that division, the Ricky Steamboat, the Macho Man. Like, when it comes to matches, Lyra Valkyria really is fucking carrying that division, and I'm super impressed by her. And I think this tag match will be good, and I think it'll set up something interesting going forward between her and Bayley. AJ versus Logan Paul, kind of underwhelmed with the build-up for it, but again, this has potential to steal a show on night number 2, unless the Fatal 4-Way does it first. That can go anyway. Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre in the Sin City Street Fight. Again, I think some people, they've been getting kind of sick of Damian Priest, so they're not too amped up about this. I think it's going to be good, and I think that Damian Priest has really come into his own. Drew McIntyre has been the man over the last couple years. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley. I think it makes most sense for Io Sky to win based on her being the third wheel, but I don't know. Bianca seems like she'll be in the company long term, and she's undefeated at WrestleMania. I'd like to see that intact. Like, you could do... She doesn't have a character like The Undertaker, right? She's not like some mythical being, but she's an incredibly strong and athletic woman. She's charismatic. She has good promo. She's compelling. I feel like long term, keeping her undefeated is probably a good move. And listen, if Io goes under, it's going to suck, right? If Rhea loses, she's not going to lose anything. But you can always run this triple threat match back again. Go back to WrestleMania 20. Chris Benoit, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. A triple threat match that was so good that they did a triple threat match again the next month. I think this will be an incredible match, and I think why not run it back at Backlash? That could be sweet. I'm way into that. And of course, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. Again, mixed bag with the way people feel about the build. I feel like once we come out of Friday, people are going to be amped the fuck up for what's going to happen with Cody and Cena. I just think it's going to be a good show. I'm always pumped about WrestleMania. A little less pumped that I'm going to be in a sling while watching it. But you know what? I'm in a good headspace because as I record this on Tuesday, April the 15th, I went to my first physical therapy session, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't feel like I was ready for physical therapy, but it was really just the guy stretching me for 5-10 minutes, talking to me a lot, giving me a few exercises, and by exercises, just like range of motion stuff. He says that considering how bad my tear was, which was complete, the thing exploded, that my range of motion is incredible. The things that he was doing to me, most people would be hurting, and I'm not hurting when he's doing these things. And, I'm just very thankful. I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for you guys supporting me, whether it be just your messages or through the GoFundMe, which still is posted up on my social medias. Look for it. Contribute if you can. Share it if you cannot contribute. Everything is appreciated. And, I'm thankful for my brothers who have been helping me through all this and making sure that I can maintain a clean body, helping me bathe, wash up, change my clothes. I'm very, very thankful, and that's my rambling about that. So it's going to be a good week, right? And I've gotten a lot of writing down. At this point, I've been writing for about 24 days. I estimate that I've probably put in about 50 hours, and I've written 5 chapters of my book. And I've never felt confident in this the way that I do now. I feel like I'm really showing people and developing the characters that were a part of my life. And it's more than just a pro wrestling story. So if you're if you're excited to hear about a book from me, an autobiography, great. But I don't know how wrestling focused it's going to be, especially in the early years. I want to make this book something more than just a wrestling story. I want the wrestling to be the backbone to something bigger, about a kid who had to deal with obstacles that he didn't quite understand, and a grown man that now has to face those obstacles, right? Because he's kept them in a dresser drawer, figuratively speaking, for a long time, and now, instead of just laughing at everything, and I haven't always laughed at these things, but instead of just laughing and joking and brushing it off, it's time to open the drawer, take out those clothes, look at them, sit with them, no pun intended, maybe iron them, make sure they're not wrinkled, feel them, understand them, come to terms with the way these things are, and then maybe put them back in the drawer and, keep buying new clothes and maybe see if you could switch some in for to give them to the Goodwill. I don't know. Now, the metaphor is going downhill now, but I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down here. I'm in a good place, and I'm very thankful, and I'm rambling. So I'm going to stop rambling, and I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Hulk Hogan, that fibber, and we're going to cover what he said in the WrestleMania 9 Becoming a Spectacle documentary. And we're going to figure out what exactly happened to Hulk Hogan's eye when we come back on Iron on Wrestling. Hey, where you going? Get back over here. It seems to me like you're straying off your path. Your health and wellness path. I want to get you back on that path, man. Or woman. Okay? And I know just the way to do it. You got to reach out to my buddy Mike at TNT Health. TNT-health.com. Because Mike, he's not like GNC or Vitamin Shop. He's not just trying to steal money from you and sell you a bunch of shit you don't need that you're not going to actually use, that'll do nothing for you. He wants to get you going on a couple things to keep you on your path, things that you're actually going to utilize, but also, not only is he going to sell you results, but he's going to help you with getting those results by going above and beyond the call of duty and checking in on you, checking your general nutrition, your macros, what you're taking in, what you're expending out, okay? Not everyone is going to do that, but Mike will at TNT-health.com. Check out their website. You can get fat burners, muscle building supplements, protein, pre-workout, pro-hormone, everything in between. You're really missing out if you don't look at TNT-health.com. It's free to look, but if you buy anything, you're going to save 10% with promo code IRONON. That's IRONON, IRONON. I like to use the protein powder, the organic protein powder, vanilla. I can mix it with anything. I use the creatine when I was lifting, which I'll be doing hopefully in the next few months. Glutamine for post-workout recovery, which I'll be utilizing very soon as I begin my physical therapy. It's got good stuff. Mike's a good dude. Reach out to him. Check it out. Because at TNT-health.com, it's about your health today, not tomorrow. I consider Mike a friend. But I only have one good buddy, and that's Juan Ortiz from Of the Dead Designs. That's right. Juan Ortiz is a real human being, not some AI fuck, okay? He's a real guy that's going to make your art. Okay, you're going to pay him money, a small fee, and he's going to create something that you will truly love and cherish, okay? It's not going to be some weird, fucked up looking thing with like 3 or 4 fingers because AI is, a robot. It's not an actual human with emotions. Juan and Of the Dead Designs has made artwork for not only myself, but many prominent figures within the wrestling community. We're talking about top names like Seth Rollins, CM Punk, The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, the Young Bucks. Yes, I said the Young Bucks. Luchasaurus, when he was Luchasaurus, but now he's Killswitch. He'll be Killswitch if he comes back. So many people in WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Am I missing anything? I probably am. Juan Ortiz has made stuff for everyone. If you need a logo for your business, if you need something for yourself to hang on your wall, some sort of artwork, something to pay tribute to a friend, a loved one, Juan Ortiz is going to make that happen. And you're going to make yourself save some money. So that way you got a few to $5 bills that you can use to have a alpaca sniff your mustache. How about $20 that you can save on your first design if and only if you tell Juan Ortiz that Iron on Wrestling sent you? What are you waiting for? Contact Juan right now. You can find him on Instagram at Of The Dead Designs. Go to his Facebook, facebook.com/ofthedeaddesigns, or go to his website, ofthedead.weebly.com, because Of The Dead Designs is bringing artwork to life. All right, we're hyping it up. I watched the WrestleMania 9 Becoming a Spectacle documentary this past Friday upon its release. And of course, I think the hook that got everybody that has been a longtime fan to watch was the fact that Hulk Hogan was going to be speaking on there, as well as Bret Hart and a variety of other people. The whole controversy at the end of WrestleMania. But more importantly, what I was unsure that they would mention is what the heck happened to Hulk Hogan's eye? Well, they talked about it. And because of his eye, I will be discussing his lie. Folks, it's the return of Hulk Hogan's Lie of the Week.
Bro, you're a fucking jabron, man. Who the fuck are you?
Hulk, fuck, bro. Yo, why the fuck do you have to put me on the spot like this? I will tell you, I'm fucking Gregory, man. The Gregster, you fucking son of a bitch.
Yes. Hulk Hogan alone. Just one spray and you bring you home. Just one spray and you're gone. Hulk Hogan alone. Woo! You like the smell of Hulk Hogan. You like the smell of Hulk Hogan. You like the smell of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan's Lie of the Week is back, and so here's how they tried to cover the whole thing on the documentary. And I may pause throughout to kind of add my commentary, but well, as they started to address the controversy, like of Hulk showing up late to the show and not knowing what's going on, if he would be able to compete, and it's being revealed that Hogan may have suffered an injury the day before the show. Here's how it all starts to play out. You're going to hear the voices of people like Scott Steiner, Bruce Pritchard, Brutus Beefcake, Jimmy Hart, Hulk Hogan, of course, and who am I forgetting? Bret Hart, Undertaker. They're all going to chime in at various points. You know their voices. I don't think I have to describe them for you, but I'm going to be stopping it periodically to give you my feedback. So let's go back to see how exactly Hulk Hogan hurt his eye the night before WrestleMania 9.
I remember seeing it, and then I was thinking, brother should have bobbed instead of weaved on that. It was a pretty nasty black eye.
That was the funny thing about it. It was like he really got a good shot in the eye. So it was one of those really good black eyes that was pretty obvious when you see it. Like, well, what happened to you?
That doesn't look like makeup. That's for real.
I didn't give it to him. Wasn't me.
Of course, everyone knows that Savage and Hogan didn't get along, so it didn't take long for the rumors to start flying around.
Hey.
Others, stories, Macho Man punched him and, beat him up, but I wasn't there, so I don't know, but that was the story going around, and I rode with Macho Man. It was like, he told me what really happened. And I believe Macho Man's story, so I believe what he told me. But he wasn't happy about it.
Okay, that was Scott Steiner at the end there. Of course, we also heard IRS, which I didn't mention. There might have been someone else I missed, but basically, Scott Steiner, who was a longtime friend of Macho Man, and in recent shoot interviews as recently as in the last month, Chris Van Vliet and Scott Steiner did an interview, and Scott was burying Hulk Hogan, and he seemed very truthful in everything he was saying. And by all accounts, Macho Man seems to be a very truthful individual. Scott Steiner claims that Macho Man told him at some point in their travels, whether it have been in the WWF or later in WCW, that he did in fact punch Hulk Hogan in the eye. Let's see how Hulk Hogan replies.
Brutus came over, and I was riding a Sea-Doo, so I got on it as I was riding it towards Clearwater Pass where we were jumping waves. I didn't know my thumb had pushed the button that made the nose stay down. So as soon as I took off, this thing was like a rocket ship, man. It would go 75, 80 miles an hour. And I hit that first big swell and I went up, and I didn't come down right away, and so it threw me over the front of the ski. And when I hit the water, I tried to cover because I knew the ski was coming at me. I tried to go underwater and cover, but my life jacket pulled me back up the ski. A 700-pound ski hit me in the face and knocked me out. I was knocked out face down in the water.
He was flying in the air, and the ski did a 360, and the front of the ski hit him on this eye orbit here and fractured it. It was almost not quite unconscious, but pretty much out of it, and pull him from the water, get him up on the beach.
The first thing he did was call Jimmy Hart. Big mistake. Oh, baby, oh my God, Vince is gonna kill you, oh my God. You know, Jimmy went nuts.
Oh my gosh, you will not believe it. His face, I mean, eye socket, like, it was horrible. Hulk goes, I ain't missing WrestleMania, because Hulk's from the old school. No matter if you're hurt or not, you make your gig, you make your shot. And so I said, Hulk, what are we gonna do?
I said, Jimmy, we're going to WrestleMania tomorrow. So I went and got stitched up at the emergency room.
So Hulk Hogan says he goes unconscious. Brutus says he's not quite unconscious. But again, here's the thing to keep in mind here. Hulk was hit in the face with a 700-pound jet ski. All that he got was a black eye. Let's really think about that. Let's think about science. Let's think about gravity. Let's think about logic. Do we think that a near 1-ton motor vehicle, even though it's on the water, it's a vehicle, do we think that this only gave Hulk Hogan a black eye? Let's continue.
And flew in.
Yeah, there was definitely tension there. I'm not sure how much Vince really knew about what was going on there. I mean, he's got it covered up real well. He pulled that bandana off and those sunglasses, his face did not look good. It was pretty brutal.
Vince saw me, he wasn't happy at all.
We risked a big show here on nonsense, riding jet skis. Normally wouldn't be a big deal. There was a lot on the line, so he probably was a little pissed.
Vince says, you're not wrestling. And I said, yeah, I am. And he goes, no, you're not wrestling. You never passed the physical. I said, well, if I pass the physical, I'm wrestling. He goes, okay, because he knew I wouldn't pass the physical.
Okay, so there is concern that Hulk will not be able to do the match because the athletic commission may not clear him, which is probably, a thing that could happen. Listen, a lot of athletic commissions when it comes to pro wrestling in various states are a fucking joke. As a wrestler, I know this. For example, Ohio Athletic Commission, a fucking joke. Just an excuse to take money to run your show, but they never show up to the events unless something catastrophic is happening. It's just a money grab. But then you go somewhere like, Nevada. You go somewhere like New York, Missouri. I'm trying to think of who else has a ridiculous commission. Kentucky. Things are going to be a little bit different. And if there's something wrong with you, especially if it's visible, you will not be allowed to wrestle. And a lot of these places require blood work and all that good stuff. And if that's not available, if you didn't get your blood work, it's not just a matter of, we'll let it slide. You cannot wrestle. I once had to wrestle it was either North or South Carolina, and I had to stop to get an emergency hepatitis C test the day before the show because the commission in the Carolinas didn't get the hepatitis C test. They got A and B, but for whatever reason, I didn't get tested for C. So the promoter paid for this hepatitis exam at the emergency room so that I could wrestle the next day. Not sure why he would do that, because I'm sure the emergency, in fact, I know the emergency test was more than my rate. So kind of crazy that even happened. Whatever the case may be, let's see what reasoning Hulk Hogan told him to kayfabe him to get around and work the show. What is the storyline reason for Hulk Hogan's black eye?
Nevada being a commission state, they would not have cleared Hulk to go in the ring. So the downplaying of the injury to let the commission know that this is all part of it. This is all part of the show.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I went to the doctor. I said, hey, Doc, you won't believe what we did. We got this new storyline to trick the fans. And we're going to tell everybody that Macho Man beat me up and gave me a black eye. And this is all makeup and all these stitches, they're fake stitches. Please don't tell anybody. Doctor goes, okay, I won't. All right. So he signed my physical. I went back. I said, hey, Vince, look, I passed my physical.
Okay. All right. Did you hear that? The storyline reason that he told the doctor was Macho Man, a babyface, beat up Hulk and gave him a black eye. Now, I don't know if the wrestler was I don't know if the doctor was a wrestling fan, okay? I don't know if he knew what a babyface or a heel was. Doesn't matter. Why is he saying that Macho Man is the one that gave him the black eye? Let's go to the actual WrestleMania 9 pay-per-view and see what was said in a pre-match promo as a storyline reason as to why Hulk Hogan had a black eye.
And speaking of jigsaw puzzles, we heard Hulk Hogan got into a little accident coming out of the gym last night. That's what money can do. And you know something, Okerlund? You think Beefcake's face looks bad? Wait until you get a load of Hogan's.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Money Inc., IRS, and Ted DiBiase, particularly IRS, claim that Hulk Hogan may or may not had a little accident at the gym the night before. So, we know that Hulk Hogan and Brutus wrestle Money Inc. for the tag titles. And even if they hadn't already come up with the idea of saying that someone may have been paid off to drop a weight on Hulk Hogan's face or whatever happened supposedly in the gym that night, why would Macho Man, the commentator, be the one that was punching Hulk Hogan in this storyline? Why would Hulk say to the doctor that the commentator, who's also a good guy, is the one that punched him in the face for a storyline, and this is all just a bunch of makeup and fake stitches? Do you know why? Here's why. Hulk Hogan is a liar. And at the end of the day, for whatever reason, Brutus is still corroborating this story from Hogan. Bruce Pritchard is going along with it because that's all he knows. That's what he's been told. He heard all the rumors himself. He said it. But it sounds like to me, whether he actually wants to admit it or not, and clearly he doesn't, the night before WrestleMania 9, based on Hulk and Linda Hogan's involvement in ending Macho Man and Elizabeth's marriage, which I don't have to go into details about. If you know, you know, and if you don't, you could look it up. But they played a very pivotal role in the ending of Macho Man's marriage with Elizabeth. I think that the Macho Man punched Hulk Hogan in the face the night before WrestleMania 9. And also, I mentioned it in the bonus episode. I can't remember what episode of Raw it is, but I'm pretty positive. I'm fairly positive I remember an episode of Raw where I don't think he mentions Hulk by name, but later in 93, he buries the shit out of Hulk on commentary. And he definitely makes an appearance on Jim Ross's radio show in either 93 or 94 and buries Hogan as well. And I think he did that by name. So, I think I've debunked another Hulk Hogan lie. What do you guys think? Did Hulk Hogan actually get his face crushed by a jet ski, a 700 or 800 pound jet ski, only to get a black eye? Or did the Macho Man, Randy Savage, snap into a Slim Jim and snap his fist right into Hulk Hogan's face? Let me know in the comments below, whether it be on YouTube, social media, wherever. Send me a line. Tell me what you think. Do you have a Hulk Hogan lie you want me to cover that you haven't heard on the show? Let me know on social media at Iron on Wrestling. All right. Let's answer your questions sent in to social media this week. But first, of course, we will get Patreon member questions. And I feel like we always do. Why don't we just get Eric's question out of the way? Perhaps maybe we'll try to get the more serious one first. But let's see. Eric from Patreon says, was George the Animal Steel the inspiration for your name? No, it was not. My name is not George. My last name is Iron. Eric asked, what is love? Will you be at the 20th anniversary of AIW? While watching Raw, how many pickles can you fit in your mouth? I don't know. I would imagine that whatever that number is, it would be the same amount of pickles at all times. My mouth is not shrinking, nor is it getting larger. So if I had to guess how many pickles I could fit into my mouth at once, geez, I guess it would depend on the size of a pickle. If we're talking an average size pickle, if we're not saying I'm chewing them, I could probably fit, I would say, 4 pickles. I could comfortably fit 4 pickles in my mouth. I know Eric or someone else is going to take that and run with that, but I knew what I was saying when I said it, okay? You fucking perverts. Has Aaron Bauer ever punched you, and where? He did once attempt to punch me in the butt cheek, but I did not allow that to happen. Why do wrestlers always check their teeth as they sell? Well, because first of all, I don't feel like wrestlers always do that. I think it's a very good sell. But also, you know, if you got punched in the mouth in a combat sport and it hurt, you might want to touch your teeth and feel like, you know, you still have them in your mouth. There have been many times in situations where I got hit for real in a match, and I was concerned that a tooth had maybe got knocked loose, right? And I feel like that's more of the sell. It's not like the teeth are out of your mouth, but it's like, oh shit, are my teeth loose? And there was a time at the dentist in the last few years where the dentist, you know, was checking my teeth, the front teeth specifically, and says, your front teeth are very loose for someone of your age. And so again, this was within, you know, the last 5 years. So at the time I would have been like 32. And I said, yeah, I know why that is. It's because I get punched and kicked unintentionally in the mouth on a regular basis. Several times I've been hit, that's not a word. I've been hit overly, unnecessarily hard. And I know that's why my front teeth are probably loose. So that's good to know that dentures are not too far off into my future. How will tariffs affect the use of the German suplex? I don't think that's going to actually affect the German suplex at all, And I think we got them all out of the way from Eric. Thank you for nothing. Once again, you son of a bitch. Juan Ortiz, he asks, actually, hold on, I lost my spot here. Bear with me. Juan Ortiz says, if you got signed to a company, could not use the Gregory Iron name anymore, but could still pick your new one, what would it be? Like Xavier Woods in one of the WWE games was billed from Angel Grove, California. What the hell? What? Oh, okay. He asked two different questions, but he asked them in different areas. Do you find it dumb when wrestlers are billed from places like the Fifth Dimension or your mother's bedroom or pretend cities from TV shows? Let me answer the name question first. I would try now, because things are different, I would try to at least keep either Gregory or Iron in my name. But back when WWE was making you pick realistic names, my brain always went to Wes and Culkin. Probably Wes Culkin, Wesley Culkin, probably based off of Wes Craven and Macaulay Culkin. That was kind of the idea behind that. Culkin, not very typical. Wes, I feel like not a typical name. Greg Culkin, Gregory Culkin, Wesley Iron, but now I can't be Wesley because they have Wesley. So, yeah, that's where my brain has always went. I don't love it, but I'm sure I would get used to it. It's I don't know why that's where my brain has always gone, but those were the names that I sort of went with in my younger days when I figured I'd have to change it if I went to WWE. I don't find it dumb when people are from pretend cities. In fact, for a period of time, and I still occasionally do it, just to pop myself because I was a big fan of the television sitcom Perfect Strangers, I will sometimes bill myself from Mepos, Ohio. Mepos being the fantasy place of origin in which the character Balky was from. One of my all-time favorite sitcom characters. So, yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? Half the time, does anybody even listen to where the person hails from when they come to the ring anyways? There have been some all-time classic ones. You know, Your Mother's Bedroom is great. Cheap Heat. Though I don't know if anybody's going to hate you for real if you say you're from your mother's bedroom. There's better ways to be a legitimate bad guy, but I don't hate it. Josh Excellent says, assuming that Cena takes the title this weekend, what do you foresee next for Cody in the near future? Does he feud with The Rock or that one musician that potatoed him at EC, Elimination Chamber? I think Travis Scott is going to play a role at WrestleMania. I would assume he's going to try to cost Cody the title. I think Cody will not get a shot at the title again for a little bit if he loses. I think if I'm booking, Backlash is in St. Louis. Randy Orton is the main person on the poster. I'm guessing we're going to get one more Randy Orton John Cena main event for the WWE Championship. I think Cena wins the title, and that's going to be the main event at Backlash, right? So I think Cody has to sort of... I think maybe The Rock tells Cody he's got to go to the back of the line. He's got to earn his spot back. I don't know what exactly Cody's going to do. I feel like they were kind of setting the table for maybe something with Drew McIntyre in a promo a couple weeks ago. Now, these were guys that were vying for the WWE Championship, but perhaps maybe they have to go through Cody on their path to get to the WWE Championship to potentially wrestle John Cena. I don't know exactly where he goes, but he definitely is going to have to start over and fight to get back to that championship, which I think inevitably he will be the one to beat Cena to get the belt back. What are some of your favorite indie show memories as a fan? I have a lot. So as a fan, I went to indie shows for only a year. In that first year, I think some of my favorite moments involved Chris Hamrick, who always comments on these posts when I ask for questions, saying that I'm no-selling him. Chris Hamrick was always an underrated talent, both as a wrestler and as a promo. He's a former guest of the show. Go back into the archives if you want to hear my Chris Hamrick interview. He once did a he lost a squash match, a tag match to Heidenreich on SmackDown. And I was in the crowd. It was like my second show ever. And it got silent during his promo, just long enough for me to yell, "You jobbed to Heidenreich!" And he looked right at me. He said, "Yeah, but I got paid for it, bitch." And just to be called a bitch by Chris Hamrick was a great moment. I don't know if I've ever told this, but they once had Abdullah the Butcher on a Cleveland All Pro Wrestling show. And I remember I purchased a SummerSlam 1994 VHS. So it's something that I saw live, but my grandpop had taped over it with a Western. Okay. So finally I come across it for $5 at the gimmick table. I buy it. I'm walking by Abdullah the Butcher, and I went to go look at something else, and I had placed my tape down, and Abdullah the Butcher grabbed my SummerSlam 94 tape, and he started just acting like he wasn't going to give it back to me. And even though he had like a weird-ass voice, I'm still like an 18-year-old kid. He's intimidating. He's Abdullah the Butcher. So I'm legitimately thinking like Abdullah's just going to keep my tape and not give it back to me. And he kind of tries to do some banter with me back and forth. And I'm just kind of scared. And eventually, after wielding his fork at me a little bit, he ends up giving my tape back. So, I mean, once as a fan at the gimmick table as well at Cleveland All Pro, New Jack showed up uninvited, and he had just come out with his New Jack DVD where he ends up beating the shit out of Gypsy Joe, and you know the controversy surrounding that documentary had been making its rounds on the internet. So I wanted to get a copy, and I walked up to him, and I go, "Could I buy a copy of your DVD?" And he goes, $20. And I go to reach in my pocket. He's like, "Unless you don't got $20, how much money you got?" And I thought about telling him I only had 10, but I knew I would have to open my wallet, and I didn't want him to look in my wallet and see that I had 20 and then stab me. So I said, "I have $20, so don't worry about it." And I gave him my $20. He signed the DVD for me, and then he goes, "Let's take a picture together," because he saw my buddy had a camera. And so I have a photo where essentially New Jack grabbed me, pulled me in, put his arm around me, and took a picture with me after I purchased the DVD. And, you know, there's some great matches that I remember at the shows, too, like, you know, Jerry Lynn versus Chris Hamrick was a great match. This was like one night after he jumped off of a steel cage at Hardcore Homecoming, which was the ECW reunion type shows. And, I mean, my first show was great, just being there to see the main event of, well, the main match that drew me in was Buff Bagwell and Chris Hamrick for the CAPW title. But the main event was one of the most god-awful matches I've ever seen in my life. It was this piece of shit, Too Cool Abdul versus Dick Trimmins, a tag team known as the Munchies. They had imploded, and their feud was culminating in a dog collar match, and it was one of the worst fucking things I've ever seen in my life. And it wasn't just me. Like, the crowd, who usually the crowd at CAPW were not the smartest fans, a bunch of inbred hill jacks that would come to the shows, and even they knew this match was terrible, and they were kind of booing it because it was so fucking piss poor. And I remember after the match, and you know, immediately when I became a wrestler, I had to respect this guy, Too Cool Abdul. He also known as Sheiki, or Sheik Abdul Hassan would be his name. When I got into the business, I had to be respectful for him. But even at that point, I knew he was a fucking idiot, because after this match, he starts yelling at the fans for booing the match because it was fucking terrible, and like going off on him and threatening people. And I just remember, God, that's embarrassing. And I'll never forget the next show, getting there a little early. And again, this is like my third show as a fan. I overhear him talking to another wrestler about that year's Hall of Fame inductions. So this would have been 2005, maybe? Yeah, it would have been 2005. And how they'll never have anything like that for us. Oh, why can't I go into Hall of Fame? Motherfucker, you've never worked outside of Cleveland, and you suck balls. Who's going to put you in a Hall of Fame? You suck. You fucking fat, old, dumb. Like, get some self-awareness, you stupid fuck. Jeez, it's really let me off on a tangent here, Josh. Thank you so much. Maybe I should move on. Let's see who else we got. Do we have more Patreon people? Michael Lane says, favorite fast food place. If I was in a pinch and I wanted to sort of feel like I was eating bad but also eating kind of healthy, I would go to Wendy's. I think that's the best fast food choice. And we're talking conventional fast food. Like I'm thinking fast food with a drive-through. If we're talking outside of just your Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, stuff like that, I'm going Sheetz. Obviously, even though it's a gas station, it's more than gas station food. And they have a wide variety of things, and I can eat kind of healthy there if I want to. Yeah, I think Sheetz and Wendy's are my top two. Any place with a good French fry. So I have a question for you, the listener. Who do you think has the best French fries? Like, because I like to get a cheat meal. Like I'll get a cheap pizza from somewhere, usually Little Caesars, obviously. But sometimes I like to get a French fry too. So I'll get like my Uber guy to stop at McDonald's or a Wendy's. But is there a better French fry? Let me know, because I love a good French fry and I love a good cheeseburger. Ian Swartwood says, what are your thoughts on parents naming their kids after stuff they can't afford? For example, this is my daughter Mercedes when I can't even drive one. Okay. Well, that's awkward. Like, that's something that I would do as a bit. Like if I had a wife or girlfriend and we had a kid and we happened to like the name Mercedes, I would say as a joke, this is why I named her that. But to legitimately do that because of something you lack, just to do a joke, that's kind of weird, actually. I don't like that. I'm not a fan. Jason Dentino says, what is your opinion on low-carb dieting? I don't mind it. I think as long as, if you're going to do low-carb, you got to supplement with a little bit of fat, for sure. I think usually if you do low-fat and low-carb, it's usually like you're cutting for a bodybuilding show. So unless you're doing that, it feels kind of unnecessary. But and also, I think people have the wrong impression about low-carb. Low-carb, to me, if you're doing like 200 carbs a day, that's low carb. The 200 to 300 calories a day is low carb. So like you could obviously go lower than that, but if you're going to go lower, you definitely have to up your fat. I see no problem with that whatsoever. Just make sure you're getting your calories. That's what it comes down to. You either have to be getting your fat or getting your carbs, but definitely hitting your calories every day. What else do we have here question-wise? So many to choose from. Bob Lindich said, if you were told tomorrow that you could no longer wrestle, what would be your next path in life? Well, I commented to you on this on the Facebook. I feel like I'm going through that now, and I've been thinking about that for a while. And I think the next path is to do things that are still creatively motivating and inspiring, not only to me, but to others. And so I think that path for me is writing, producing, motivational speaking, podcasting, YouTube. I think, there's a wide variety of ways that I could still be connected to, in this case, wrestling, something that I love, but not physically do it. And, I think I've felt that way for a while, but there's now a different state of mind where in the situation that I'm in, it sucks that it's not my choice. It's not under my terms to stop wrestling. And that's a little hard to deal with. So that's kind of where I'm at. Asa Gray says, what is your biggest what if in wrestling? Like, what would wrestling look like if Bret Hart wasn't forced to retire? What if the Nexus had won at SummerSlam? That sort of thing. That's a good question. And I think other people have sort of talked about this before, but one of my what ifs is what if Bret never went to WCW? And I always ask that because I'm pretty positive we would still have Owen Hart around. if Bret stays in the WWF, we avoid one of the biggest tragedies, if not the biggest tragedy in the history of professional wrestling. I mean, it's hard to argue there being a bigger tragedy than that. It happened live on pay-per-view in front of a sold-out crowd. And the tragedy was made worse by having the show go on. So fucked up to think about. And again, you'll hear people say, well, different time, you know, we didn't know what else to do. We wanted to avoid a riot. I mean, come on. First of all, when Owen fell, it became an active crime scene. For someone to say that's what Owen would have wanted, that's definitely not what Owen would have wanted, okay? He would have not wanted people to work around the corner of the ring that was dented in from his skull and neck crashing into the canvas. So I could pretty much guess that. I also think about what if Bret went to WCW 96? That's my big question for Stone Cold Steve Austin that I want to pose to him at some point, because he always points to Bret as the guy who made the Stone Cold character. If not for him, we don't get that iconic moment at WrestleMania 13 that sells millions of dollars in T-shirts. In fact, you know, I just bought the reprint, the Austin 316 blood shirt, and it's one of the most iconic images of all time. What individual gets Stone Cold over to the level that he got? Because, I mean, maybe they do something with Shawn Michaels, but then we have to imagine that Shawn doesn't lose his smile leading up to WrestleMania 13, right? Maybe Shawn and Austin can work. Not at Survivor Series because he's working with Sid, but maybe coming out of Survivor Series. But also, Bret's the one that pitched to work with Austin, right? So we would have to be under the assumption that Shawn liked working with Austin enough at house shows, like he did when he first came in. He did a couple of TV matches with him as the ringmaster in the early 96. Shawn may have to pitch working with Austin. I feel like that's the most logical guy. Depending on who you talk to, either Bret or Shawn, one is your 1A and one's the 1B, right? There's no arguing that. Two of the best of all time. But it's just one of those things where revisionist history will tell you that Stone Cold did the King of the Ring 96 Austin 316 promo. The next night, he was a made guy. He was not at SummerSlam 96. He was on the pre-show. Even by In Your House in October, it was like him and Hunter Hearst Helmsley in the opening contest at Buried Alive. It was Bret Hart requesting to work with Steve that set him towards the course for which he got, and that's being a main event player and ultimately saving the World Wrestling Federation. So we do have some other questions, but I might do them over on Patreon in a bonus. I might save them for next week, but I do know that I need to eat food. I actually have to do an additional podcast with a longtime supporter of the show, Rick Paulton, so that'll be fun. I'll see if I can get that over on the channel here. I'm sure he wouldn't mind over on the Patreon channel, patreon.com/Iron Wrestling as a bonus episode. And it'll be a good way to check out Rick's podcast. And hey, thanks for stopping by as always. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you follow me on social media at Gregory Iron on X, Gregory_Iron on Instagram, Facebook.com/The Handicapped Hero. You can book me for pro wrestling seminars or motivational speaking sometime in the near future. Send me a message, and as I'm going through recovery, we can work out potential dates. Make sure you check out my Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/Gregory Iron for my shirts. Aaron shirts, Iron on Wrestling shirts, a plethora of shirts. It's a good way to get out-of-print shirts from us. Cameo, if you would like a shout-out of some sort. I feel like I'm forgetting something. What am I not plugging? Patreon.com/Iron Wrestling. Obviously, that's where you get a buttload of bonus content. And if you want to, You can donate to my GoFundMe, which is linked in my Instagram bio. It's linked in some of the comments and some of my posts on other social media platforms. Just search Gregory Iron GoFundMe. Should pop up. If you could support, great. If you could share it, that helps too. And I love you all. Thanks for stopping by. Until next week, or unless I see you over on Patreon, here is a tender, loving kiss. Goodbye. Enjoy WrestleMania, baby.